Jefferson Robbins with NCW Life. There are several seats that are up for election on the Wenatchee City Council, but only one that has two candidates in the campaign. It's for District 5. I'm joined by one of those candidates now, Anthony Electrify Williams. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you having me.
Why Electrify?
You know, because I really looked at everything that I've done in my life, and it has really been elective. I always charge things up and bring life to things, you know.
Describe your district, District 5. It's the most central district in Wenatchee. What's it like?
It's the best district. Like you said, the college is there. There's many stores there. It's like a middle, it's a fleet mix of middle class, lower income as well. Great homeowners, pay their taxes. They are really the lifeblood and driving force, my district is, of this valley, because it is centrally located. And we haven't done enough to honor them by sheltering them. But it's not just my district. It's the whole district. It's the city at large is what we're really after.
You're currently the owner of the Wenatchee Valley Bighorns basketball team, but you've been involved in lots of projects, some of them related to sports around the valley. So tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, you know, I would say I have a unique experience when it comes to how I got to Wenatchee. You know, I always call it like the Moses experience. And the reason why I like that is I was born in Yakima. And about 9 years old, I played on a sixth grade baseball team. And the unique thing about that is there was a family from Wenatchee who moved to Yakima who noticed me, and they kind of adopted me. And when they did that, they would bring me to Wenatchee every week from 9, every weekend, I should say. And so then that became historic, and 9. And then I remembered the family atmosphere and just the different feeling that Wenatchee had versus where I lived at, right? And I felt like, one day this might be a special place for me. And so that's kind of how I really got to fall in love with Wenatchee. And so I just kind of got shoved upstream, and here I am today. And but I really do believe that this is for me. This valley is for me, and this is why I'm here.
Tell me about your professional involvements. What kind of things have you been involved with in Wenatchee?
Wow, yeah, that's pretty good. So I was a manager for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Anybody that knows about Enterprise, they think it's just renting cars, but actually, you get an MBA when you go through the Enterprise company. Without a degree, I was able to have 11 employees. I got promoted to have 11 employees that all had college degrees, so that shows you how electric I am there. And so that was one of the things that I've done. As you know, the basketball is another thing, bringing tourism and bringing something for kids meaningful and special. That's a big thing too. Another thing is I was athletic director at Waterville High School. That shows you there's another thing. I have emergency teaching credential. I have 4 endorsements, CTE endorsements, but I could never really get a job in a school district. And what's really ironic about that, you talked about professional, I had 15, 16 years of coaching, credentials proven on a high school level, varsity level, 5 championships in multiple districts of where I coached. And, it was ironic. I could never get even a middle school coaching job as a head coach. So I knew that my only pathway really is to be an entrepreneur.
The Bird Scooters project has been something you were in charge of guiding, left the project for a while, came back when it looked like it was in trouble.
Exactly. In fact, in about the middle of July, they called me, Bird Scooter called me and said, hey, there's some deficiencies in our program and we need somebody to save the day. And they just looked at the body of work that me and the other fleet manager, Tony Guillermo, did last year, because we both had 60 scooters apiece. It was our own deal. Bird called me back and said, hey, would you save the day? And I said, I'll come in and clean it up, because it's really a good program. It honors the city if it's done the right way. So the city really loved it. And so this is why I'm back trying to clean it up so we can bring it back the next year.
How do you take your work and what you've learned and translate that into what you would do for the council? How does your experience make you a good council member?
Yeah, that's good, because you got to look at it like this. A lot of people are always talking about diversity, and then when they look at it, the first thing that they alter ego to is color or ethnicity, but really it's a diversity of experience. I have more experience probably than anybody with board experience in terms of the different things and the different facets that I've done. So how that translates over is my leadership, my ability to sit on different boards, sit at different tables, to get different perspectives, to interviewing. In fact, I had my own TV show, the Tony Williams Show. We had over, it ran for 3 or 4 years at YCTV. It was on Charter Cable, and we did a lot of dignitaries, magistrates. We tapped into even pro athletes. We talked to the collegiate athletes, and even a couple movie stars that we got to. And so, my like you, your journalistic experience that took me there. It gave me the opportunity to listen and learn, of what really issues are all about, how to impact it. And because of that, I was on certain boards that did a lot of great things for communities.
What would you say is the state of Wenatchee right now?
It needs significant change. Uh, it really needs significant change from strong mayor to just the other council. Frank was a great mayor. It was the proper season for a strong mayor. But as we're shifting, we need a little bit more to go to the other model too, which is a more of a council-led form of government. So there's equity across the board, so that there's no special interest. There is no one really having agendas that can be sidestepped. So with this type of change, that's the first thing. The crime is one thing. I don't really feel that we have efficient answers for it. I do. I have efficient plans for it. If you probe me, you'll see, and then you'll hear it first here. And that's why I don't speak a lot in public, because everybody piggybacks on what everybody says. But that's a good thing. Homeless is another thing. I have a great program for that. So the issues that are pressing, youth is my thing. But it all stems from youth and seniors. There's a disconnect there. So that's the problem. If you can connect the youth to the seniors, it'll eradicate a lot of the problems that we have in between. But because we haven't done a good job on that, we're suffering for it.
So talking about homelessness, we have programs like low barrier shelters. We have a safe park for people who are living out of their vehicles. How should Wenatchee continue to offer those services? Do we have an obligation to do so?
Yeah, it's a twofold. We have an obligation because they are our constituents, and one form or another, whether they buy a candy bar, they pay some sort of tax. But the problem with the programs that are in place is that's just it. It's just a Band-Aid, and they fall off after that. It's more than just getting them off the street. So how do you rehabilitate them? How do you guide them back into the working population? How do you make them employable? That's the disconnect that we have. The program that I came up with, and that you've never heard before, I call it the hands up, thumbs up program. And what you do is you got to give them, number one, you got to give them a birth certificate. You got to get them an ID. You got to get them a social security card. You got to get them a food handler's card. You got to give them the vehicles when you transition them into these homes, into these houses, ability to be employable. You can't just take them off the street for the sake of taking them off the street to receive a grant. But what's the next component to make them healthy, to give them the self-esteem that they need to come back and to contribute like everybody else is? And that's where we've lost it at. That's the part that I'm able to bring to the council and guide the council with a perspective that I know that they haven't touched yet. And if they can do the things that I can kind of guide them into, you'll see a lot more homeless. It'll decrease. And plus, we'll know where people are from.
Well, housing in Wenatchee, just like many other places, is hard to afford, even for people who are earning a solid and steady living. So are there ways that the city can address that you'd like to be involved with on the council?
We always talk about building up, but I think building up responsibly, in other words, in terms of building 2 and 3 stories, it just depends. You can't do that in a neighborhood, or we can't allow zoning to, just because a builder wants to come in and build this multi-dwelling unit in a residential place that's already been there and established. It creates a lot of problems. So when we earmark these places, it has to be designated to build up in those areas. And I think that we've done not the best job at zoning things the way we should zone things to stop that. And it has become a problem. And some of the constituents have come to me and said, "Hey, why is this? I can't even see Saddle Rock anymore." So that's really defeating. It's really lawsuit material, really.
What priorities, Tony, has the city set in the last couple of years that you might think are misguided? Places where you might have taken a different vote from how the city decided the course.
Yeah, well, the one thing is I just, if I look across the board, there's a lot of allocation issues. We underfund kids. We underfund the youth. I'm a big proponent of that because those are our lifeblood. Those are our kids. And so that is one thing that I'll take a real strong, comprehensive look at and see how we can drive more income that way. I created a program, and this, if I get on council, it's called the Grand Pal program. I grew up in an era where it was called Pen Pal, right? And you look at all the kids that are throughout this district, they have no connection to elderly people or our seniors. Our seniors have no connection to them. What my program will do is go get the public-private sector involved, go to Link Transit, let them be the bus route so we don't impact the school district's bus routes to have these field trips to senior homes. And then they can build these relationships, and now they're become honored, the stories, the respect, the things that they're missing. If there's something that I challenge you to look at is in the book Outliers. A lot of people have read it, but there was one thing called Rosetta. And in that Rosetta complex, it said that none of the people were dying. They were drinking. The older people were living until they were 90s. It was because they were third generation. They had kids in the family. They lived with their grandparents, and they had a family. So we've taken that mechanism out. The way we can do it is leverage our school district and pair kids with elderly so that they can have this connection. The respect comes. They honor it. Right now, all we're getting is the agenda that social media is getting, and we're not doing a good job on governing those type of things. So programs I do are fun, exciting, and it involves everybody, public and private.
What do you think a city owes to its citizens?
Yeah, a quality of life. You need to have some programs that foster things to drive kids forward in where we're going as a country, as a nation, even as a state. We know Microsoft is coming here, or they're already here. We know tech is here. We know data farms are here. Our school district should be riddled with STEM programs and take out some of the traditional history. We don't need history. History skewed. We knew that when they told me 88 years later that Columbus didn't discover America. So what more should I believe in any of those books? So we got to really convert and say, look, this is the times now, and we have to adjust. You have to be nimble.
Anthony Williams, listed on the ballot as Electrify Williams, candidate for District 5, Wenatchee City Council. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Robbins.
Appreciate it.
You too. Thank you. Thanks.
You're watching the NCW Life channel.